was similar to your guys' practical too, just different problem statement. So this year's practical, it was based on navigators of vast astronomies, which is NOVA. Last year's one, I think it was, I forgot what it was based on. So let me open it. So I'm gonna go to documents and then come side to a practical two, and then I'm going to open document. So this was last year's practical. Yeah, it was based on fireworks and stuff. Mm, assignment date, deadline. Mm. It was based on firework where you have to, and it also had what is an enum. It also had classes and things like that. Yeah, there's an enum of a color. There's e color, so it's similar. So I'll just do Elastic's practical, and then you guys will see when you get there. And it should be somewhat similar. So you guys, okay, it has a batch file. So let me see. So I think starting from tomorrow, you guys will be given batch files. So you don't have to good batch file coding practice. Mhm. So this will be the batch file that you guys will be given. Yeah, so quite a lot of stuff in it. So that's the batch file you guys will use to test, right? So you guys will use that batch file to test your code, and you're given additional files and stuff. So since you're given additional files and everything, tomorrow's practical you guys will be using Eclipse. So you guys better check out the video that I uploaded on YouTube on how to install Eclipse. I'm not gonna waste time on that. There's a video on that. If you guys are struggling to install Eclipse, I think things, yeah, I think things have changed a bit. If you're struggling to install Eclipse, right, you're gonna do this. You're gonna open Chrome, right, your favorite browser, and then the browser that you have opened, you're gonna search download Eclipse. If you do it that other way, whereby you go to the Eve Resources website, it's not gonna work the way it's not gonna download the way you want to download. So let me show you. So if you go to eve.resources, UJ resources, and then you go to website 2, I think you should download the zip file if I'm not mistaken. So let's go back to see. Yeah, I think if you click here, it should download the zip file. Let me check. Yeah, you don't want this. The zip file, right? The problem with the zip file is that the zip file, you'd have to look for the .exe file for the Eclipse every time you run it. So what do I mean? So you have to go to your C drive, wherever you've saved the folder, go look for it and run it there, which is a lot of work. So I want you to install it inside Windows itself. So what you need to check right now is the version number. It's 2023 12, right? Or version 12. Let's just assume that's version 12. Once you have claimed that number, you go to your browser. I know it's really annoying, and then you download Eclipse. So you can click anywhere. It should be the first link. And then it should take you to this website. And then you click on downloads. And then there's two types of downloads. The second download is for, what are they called? I think it's for ARM chips, right? If you have something that we call an ARM chip, most of you don't know about that. So you probably don't have a laptop like that. And I think laptops with that chip, they tend to be more expensive. For example, your MacBook, it uses an ARM chip. So you're not going to worry about that. So you're going to look at x86 64, which is this one. That's for Intel, right? If you have an Intel processor, right? And then there's the executable. But if you check here, right, the version number is incorrect. Where's, okay. So let me zoom in a bit. So if you check here, the version number is incorrect. You see, if you go to the search bar there at the top, It says 2024-12. We want the 2023 one. You're gonna go there and remove the 4 and replace it with a 3, like this, right? I know I zoomed in too much, but there's a 2023, 2024. Replace that 4 with a 3 and then press enter. And then it's going to load again. Then let me zoom out. And then after loading, it should now show at the top that it's now 2023-14. We have the executable. We don't want that zip folder, because with the folder, you'd have to always look for the folder in order to run Eclipse, which is annoying. And then you just click here, download, or you click here. Either way is fine. Then you download Eclipse. But before you download Eclipse, you need to have what we call the JDK. You wouldn't be coding. So far you've been coding your practicals, right? You wouldn't be able to do your practicals without the JDK installed in your operating system, but I'm assuming you didn't have it installed. So you're gonna say JDK download, right? And then click the very first link. The very first link, it should be Oracle. So that's the company that owns Java. You're gonna go there and then click JDK 21. You see, by default, it's on JDK 23. It's very, very important you download the right version. If you download JDK 23, 0. Just know you're getting a 0 for your practical. Total 0. It won't run. It will never run. Even if you pray and fast, it won't run. So you must choose the JDK 21, because that's the one you guys are using for the practical or for ComSci 2A. And then you choose your operating system. If you scroll down here, there's going to be a list of operating systems. If you're using Windows, most people use Windows, click on Windows. And then you can either download this installer or this installer. Either one is fine. But if you're on Windows 11, I would choose this one over here. If you're on Windows 10, choose this one over here. So after that, you just keep on clicking next and then install, and then you should be done. That's pretty much all you have to do. But when you're setting up Eclipse, start by installing the JDK first. Don't do it in the other order. If you do it in the other way, it's not going to run, which is a 0. So start with the JDK, then install Eclipse. With Eclipse, you just keep on pressing next. That's pretty much all you have to do. So let's go to let's get to straight to work now. So I have downloaded the JDK in both ways. You can download the folder because you need it to run with your batch file, right? So okay, I forgot to mention that. That's also important. So JDK, you're gonna install it sort of like not really twice, but you're gonna install it once, and then you go back to Chrome, and then you visit your Eve resources website, and then you make sure you download the JDK 21, right? It should be a folder. I think it's a folder. If it's not a folder, then I'm not sure. It should be a folder. So let me see. So we have JDK. Okay, it's not showing here. I don't know why. Okay, or you can just download this one over here. So let me see if I can show you how to download the folder, because you need the folder for the JDK, because as you can see, it's in my C drive, right? You need that folder. It's important for the batch file. If you don't do that, the batch file won't run. So I need to go back to where I download the JDK, choose JDK 21, and then click on Windows, and then download the zip file. There it is here. Download the zip file. After click download the zip file. It depends on your operating system too, right? Remember, choose the right operating system. Then download the zip file. So you need to download two, the zip file and the installer. On a Mac OS, right? You're gonna download the file that is .tar or .gz, or and then when you download the installer, you're gonna download the .dmg one. That's the installer. So you need to be very careful with the operating system that you choose. You need to understand your operating system. For Windows, it's straightforward because you know a zip file is .zip. For Windows, an executable is a .exe or .msi. .msi is for Windows 11, which is the latest Windows operating system. So you actually need to download both the zip file and the executable, and then start by running the executable. And then once you have the zip file, right, you open it in your downloads. There's the zip file, right? Then you right click and unzip. So I'm going to extract all, and then I'm going to remove that name, and then press enter, and then it's going to unzip, right? After it's done unzipping, you're going to have a folder named JDK minus 21. This one shows the full version, minus 21.0.6, which is a problem if you see, com size is not something that you can take lightly, right? You really need to know or understand what you're doing. As you can see, that's how the folder is named. So I need to fix that. Once it's done unzipping. Is it done? Okay, it seems like it's done unzipping. So since it's done unzipping, I need to check the batch file. The important thing to check is the batch file. How did they expect you to name the folder? So I'm gonna go to my batch file, open it using Notepad, whether it's Notepad or Notepad++. If you look at the Java home, right, when they're setting the path, they expect you to name it JDK minus 21, not 21 minus 21 point something. There's no points here, as you can see. So this is a very important step, but else most of your practicals we're not gonna run. But since you're doing them on campus, you shouldn't have any issues. But I'm saying how I'm just showing you how you guys would do it in your what is this in your computer. So I'm gonna right click that folder that I downloaded, and then I'm gonna click rename, and then I'm gonna remove the .0.6, right, and then press enter. So now it's named the way the the batch file expects me to name it. Then you're gonna put it in the C drive, because if you go to the practical, right, practical 3, the batch file, oh, there's the batch, it's already opening. So if you go to the batch file, you see that it expects it to locate it for this JDK folder to be located in the C drive. Even the JavaFX, you use that to make an app with buttons. For now, it's still simple stuff. So you're still gonna make complicated stuff. You're gonna have a lot of code. Like when I say a lot of code. So yeah, you better start practicing. There's no, what's that? What's that quote? Whatever they say. There is pap, this is not pap and play, something like that. I forgot how they say it exactly. I was not a fan of Afrikaans, Shem. I never liked that subject. Don't know how I passed, but yeah. So you're gonna copy this or cut it and then put it inside the C drive and then paste it there. I already have it pasted there. I don't have those problems. So there it is there already done. And then once the folder is there, you're sorted. Then you can install that executable. Then after installing the executable, then install Eclipse. You start by installing the executable for the JDK first before you install Eclipse. Then you install Eclipse. After you install the Eclipse, you're done. That's all you have to do. That's the setup. JavaFX, will get to that when we get there. For now, it's basic stuff. So there's the batch file, everything is there. And then now I'm going to open Eclipse, right? For you guys, as you can see, it's the right version. It's 2023 minus 12, which is the right version. Like, and I'm going to repeat, if you download the wrong version, your practicals won't run, which is a 0. So it won't even be kept at 40%. It's a 0 because it's not gonna run at all. So let me close this project. This ComSci 3A. Where's this part? How come it's not showing close project? Let me do this. Let me right click on it and then close project. So to create, for you guys, you're gonna have a different interface, right? But to create a new project, you go to File, right? And then you say New Java Project. You click on Java Project. I mean, you're doing Java, right? Last time I checked, you guys are doing Java, and then you give your project a name. The name is, so let me open the PDF. So the name is how you should name the practical. That's the name you give your project. So you're gonna go to your practical, so practical 3, right? And then there's the PDF. It should be there in the PDF. You should find the naming convention on how you should name your practical inside the PDF. So let me scroll down. Yeah. So there's the way you should name it. So you should copy that and then replace everything next to the underscore with the actual answer, right? So subject code is CSC02A2. The year is 2025. Practical number is P03. Student number, that's you should know that. Initials, you should know that. Surname, you should know that. And then here's an example here. So you need to have those things there. And then you also need to have the specific folders there, the docs, the bin, everything. So it's quite a process. And if you don't do the right thing, your code is not gonna run. So that's why I want you guys to be very careful of the project setup steps. So I'm gonna click, go back to my Eclipse, give the project a name. So computer science to a P03 memo. And then this 2024 version, but doesn't matter. And then you can choose your location, right? By default, you can unselect this, right? So that you can choose a different location. Or you can leave that the default location, and then you'd have to create a folder for your practicals. I suggest you create the folder on documents or anyway, just create a folder. Once you have an empty folder, then you go back here and you click on browse. You should open your file explorer, then you choose that folder. Then you click select folder and then done. The default location, I know it by head. I'm just gonna leave it as default location. And then for you, leave everything else as default. For you guys, here at the bottom here, where it says, and this is very important again, this is not C++, whereby everything is straightforward. At the bottom here, you'll see that there's this thing called create module info the Java file. For you guys, it'll be selected, right? Make sure you unselect this. If you leave it selected, crash, 0. I want you to view it in that way, and it's not even a joke, it's a fact. You leave it selected, it's a 0. You get a 0 for your practical because it's not gonna run. Everything is gonna crash. You try to create a new class, crash, errors one way, and your code will be fine. But the problem is it's this file. So that's why we just leave it, just unselect it, and then click next, and then leave everything as is, and then click finish. And then there's your project over here. So there's my project, there's the source file, right? Then I need to create folders, right? Like the docs folder, the what is the data folder, all those folders. You can create them here, or you can go to the file explorer and find the folder and then create them there. That's fine. Either way is fine. To create it, you have to inside Eclipse, you have to select the what is it, the Eclipse or the Java project name. Right click on it and then click new, and then you'll see a lot of options here. There's folder, there's file if you want to create a new file. So I want to create a new folder, and I'm gonna give the folder name here. You click there and then you type in the folder name. It's gonna be named docs. Click finish. There's the new folder. And then I'm gonna add all the other folders. So new folder data. And that time we haven't even started with the solution. So there's a lot involved here. That's why I'm taking my precious time to explain it. So data, we have data, src, lib, right? And then what else is needed? What other folder? I think I'm missing a folder. What's the other folder? Date, bin. Okay, bin is already there. So bin is generated automatically by Eclipse, even though you don't see the folder there. You don't create the bin folder. If you create it, crash. Don't do that. And then there's my folders, everything is fine. Then I go to my additional files. Your practical that you'll be given will have additional files. In this practical, the additional files was the jar file and the batch file. So I'm gonna right click here and just say copy this batch file. Remember the batch file is supposed to be in the docs folder. Then I'm gonna go back to Eclipse and then click select docs folder and then right click and say paste, right? Because I've copied it and then paste. It's now going to paste it inside the docs folder. So there's my batch file inside the docs folder. And don't try to do spiritual things. Don't try to run the batch file inside Eclipse. It's not going to work. You'd have to go inside File Explorer and look for your project, then run it there. So that's very important to know. Don't do that. And then inside, I think the jar files are inside lib, right? Yeah. So or contains all libraries needed to compile and run your solution. This is where you put your jar files. Anything that ends in a .jar. And there it is. It's given here. So I'm gonna copy it, go back here, click on lib, right click, and then click paste. And then there's my jar file. And then I'm gonna go back here, and then we still have the data folder. I've already created the data folder, so I just need what's inside it. So I'm gonna extract it since it's gonna be zipped. And then there's all the files. Yeah, there's quite a lot of files, eh? So it's basically text files. So I'm gonna select every text file and then copy them and put them inside the data folder inside my Eclipse project. So copy everything, select everything, and then right click and click copy, and then go back to Eclipse, select data folder, and then right click and click paste. So there's all my files. The batch file will use these files to test, right? Or I think we'll see how they want you to test. But the batch file will run your code. So when you test your code, you need to use these files, any of these files. And then there's source folder, SRC folder. There's still quite a lot involved, hey guys. There's still quite a lot. Remember, there's packaging. So I need to go back and look for the package that was stated. So they say create file handler class inside axi file. So there's packages. So let me see what other packages are there. Okay. So yeah, there's no other packages. So that means there's only one class here that I've seen so far. So I'm gonna copy this package, right click, and then select copy, go back to Eclipse, back to my source folder, right click, and there's two ways you can go about it, right? You can say new and then create a new package. You can do that. Or you create the class and then put the package name at the top. It's going to create the package and the class simultaneous. You can do it that way too. So I'm going to choose the package first option, and then they say give the paste the name or put in the name of the package. So I'm going to paste it. There's my package name. And make sure you unselect this. Anything that says info.java, make sure it's unselected, guys. Make 100% sure that's unselected, or else it's a zero. Your code is not going to run. I have experience. I've done it. I've done that error before, and it took me hours to find out what was the issue. Lucky enough, I understood what was the issue. So finish, and then there's my package. So that means every time I add a new class, I add it inside that specific package, which is inside the source folder. So I'm gonna right click here on the package or select it first, right? Let's say you've selected the select the package first, then right click and say new and then new class. And then you go back to your document, your practical document. You see that there's only one class here, which is called the display file handler. So I'm going to copy that name, copy. Yeah, there's no other class you must create. That's the only class. So this practical its main focus is on file handling, reading files. So I'm gonna paste that, and then I'm gonna scroll down and see. Okay, there's no other information. There's no inheritance or things like that, or interfaces. Yeah, they didn't mention anything like of that nature. So I'm gonna go back here, and you're gonna see a lot of options here. Just make sure that none of them are selected. You could, if you wanted to, and select generate comments. You're just gonna add a bit of Java doc in your code. You could click that one is fine. You can select it, and then click finish, and then it should open that class that was created. And then on top of your class name, when you're writing the Java doc for your class, you're gonna say at author, meaning the author. Then you write in your surname, initials, student number, right? Student number. And then you write at version meaning what is the thing that you are creating? It's practical 03, right? Just do that. In every single .java file that you create, on top of the class name, on top of the class that you've created, put in Java doc of your credentials, right? Or of your details. So this is how you should structure it so that they know it's your practical, it's your solution. And then let's start then. So all this information, right? You might not understand the practical yet, but all of the information above, right? All of this, everything that's here, all of that, all of this is just information that's inside a models.jar file. I don't have to create those classes. They're already given to me. So once you're done creating your file, your class, you can always go to these two buttons here at the top. There's save button, meaning to save the current file that's opened, or to save all, meaning it's going to go through all the .java files inside of your project and save the changes. So just click save all, and then it is saved. To see that, to check if something is not, if your class is not saved, you can look at this thing at the top of your class name, of your .java file name. There's an asterisk. You see this thing, that star there, that asterisk. It means that the current file, the changes you've made are not saved. So you need to save them. So that's how you know. So I'm going to say at version P03, and then save the changes. And then before we continue, remember we only copied the jar file. In order to use what's inside the jar file, you need to include it into your project. It's only in the folder. It's not included as part of the project. So let me show you what I mean. So if I try doing this, right? So let's see here. They say that there's what are the classes that are there? Pyrotechnician, phone numbers. Let me see. Okay, they didn't specify the names of the oh yeah, there it is. So regular expression. So we have this class called firework display. So let me show you how much how important it is to understand what you're doing. So I'm gonna say firework display, right? And then it's gonna be like show me options and say, do you want to create the class? Because it doesn't know it. It doesn't know of its existence. So that's why the jar file, you need to include it in the project so that it knows when you try to use something from there. So you're gonna select it, then right click, and then there's gonna be build path, right? You're gonna choose build path and then click add to build path. Click there, and then it should load. And then now you see now the difference, right? You see the difference. Now it shows me import, meaning that it now knows, it now saw an example somewhere or a creation of this class somewhere immediately after I've included the jar file. So to show you that it works, right? So the jar file is going to have this greater than sign next to this jar. I mean, no, these guys have jokes. It's called a .jar file, and they put a jar next to to that file. Hey, they have jokes, ne? So to expand this, ne, I don't know. Not everyone has the same understanding. So I'm gonna zoom in too much. So you see, there's this arrow here right next to the jar file. You're gonna click that to expand. Then this is the package, and then click that to expand. Then you see all of your files or your classes. Then expand any class that you want more information on. Click expand, and then it should show you all the things that are there. So let me minimize or zoom out. Then you're gonna see everything that's there, and then you can shift it to the side a bit. So you see that's everything that's there. These are the methods: get colors, set firework ID, blah blah blah. And then yeah, so this is very important because you need to also see what's available. But you can easily check what's available by using the member access operator, which is the dot. So when you say dot, that's when you should see a list of the things that are available in the inside of that class. So yeah, there's quite a lot to explain. I'm not gonna lie to you. We're definitely not gonna cover everything. So there's quite a lot to explain. So I don't know whether we should have a session tomorrow early morning, around maybe around 8, somewhere there, to continue where we left off, or what you guys would decide, because you guys have a practical session tomorrow. So let's talk about regular expressions, right? So what is a regular expression? Your practical will be based on regular expressions. So it's gonna be file handling and regular expressions. That's what the practical for tomorrow is based on. Basically, it's similar. I'll say it's like 90% similar to this one that I'm doing right now. So if you understand this one, then you should have no problems tomorrow. So what is a regular expression? A regular expression is basically us coming up it's like a way to find a pattern, right? For a pattern, by a pattern, it's like for us to be able to decide this to tell to inform the user or whatever that this is the pattern of data that or thing that we expect it to be in. So for example, I expect it to be 4 letters, and I expect it to have a hyphen and extra 4 letters. And I expect it to have one capital letter followed by 3 small letters and a hyphen and its uppercase letter and 3 small letters. So this is this is the pattern that I expect the information to be in. So if you were to do something bizarre, like let's say you say Vortex hyphen Academy, right? If you had to write it like this, your regular expression, right, which is like a formula, it's not going to match this, because the formula states that you need to have one capital letter followed by exactly 3 letters. If you look at this one, it kind of follows, but it doesn't strictly follow all the rules, because there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 letters instead of 4. This one is 6 instead of 3. Not 4, 3. 3, and then this one is 5 instead of 3. After the capital letter, there's supposed to be only three letters. But then this one is 6. This one is 5. So this wouldn't match, but this will match. So that's basically what a regular expression is to like come up with a formula to match for a formula that states what pattern we expect. We can also write a formula that says I expect a digit. So for example, I expect a 2-digit number. You can write a formula like that. Or I expect a single digit number. So if the user enters 45, this is incorrect, because this is 2 digits. There's a 4 and a 5. So this will not match. But if you only passed 4 or you only passed 5, it will match, because the formula states that we only expect one digit, one number. And then I'm going to, what is this? I'm going to open Chrome. There's a website where you can go to practice your formula to make sure your formula actually works. It's called, yeah, you'll understand why it's called that. It's called I Hate Regex. That's the website. That's what it's called. And then you're gonna go, we don't want the cheat sheet. We want the playground, right? Regex for playground. We want the playground, meaning we want the playground, where to play, right? And then there's a formula. So I need to explain this thing one by one so that you guys understand, right? That's why I was expecting to start at least at 6 o'clock on the dot, so that we have it is more time to explain everything or cover everything. So there's still some, okay, let me do this. Okay, there's still a few students. So at least the ones who are attending, they don't have to worry about watching the recording. Yeah, sometimes watching the recording can be annoying because it'd be too long. It'd be like, yeah. So let me explain the regular expressions, right? So how do we define a regular expression? There's many ways, right? I'm gonna start with the simplest way. If you want to specify that, and there's you want exactly Let's see. Where should I start? So, okay, let me not start there. Let's start with something simple. Let's say you wanted one character or one letter of the alphabet. You would put square brackets like this, right? Why are you putting square brackets? Because you're specifying a range, right? So I'll say A to Z. It means that I expect small letters. You see, I use small letter A and small letter Z. It means A through Z. Basically A to Z. Small letters. That's what I go. That's what the regular expression says. So if I go back here, let me go back to my I hate regex platform. And then don't worry about the dollar sign and this cap thingy. Don't worry about that. So let's start simple. Let's say A to Z, right? It means that it expects exactly one character. And then let's say I enter A. So you see it matches. How do you know it matches? It's you see the color, it selects it. There's a change of color to show that this pattern, we call this a pattern or a formula. It matched with our input. So under this section here, this is where you put example inputs to check if your formula works or not. Once you're done and you know your formula works, you go to copy the formula, and then you put it inside your Java, your your Java class, right? So let's say you want exactly one letter within from A to Z, exactly one, right? Or this means just one. If you try to put two, you'll see that it'll match them separately, even though it looks like it's both. It matches them separately because it expects one. You can change the formula to say you expect two if you want two. You can do that. So I'm gonna leave it like that. If you want to specify capital letters, you use capital letters. So I'm gonna say capital A to capital Z. And you see that it stopped matching. You see now it stopped matching because I told the formula now states that I want any letter from A to Z, but it's a capital letter. So if I change this to, let's say, capital B, you see now it starts matching again because it made my input meets the requirements, right? So regular expression is it's sort of like describing what is required, what is expected from the user, what type of input, and in what format do we expect it to be. So that's what regular expressions are for. So this just means we can use the square brackets to specify a specific range. Or you could do this, right? You can say A, right? Like this, which just means that I only expect one letter, which is just A. Or if you feel like you don't like, if it's one letter, usually we omit the square brackets. There's no need for that. It's being extra. The square brackets, we only put them when you're specifying a range, like from A to Z, like this. So it means that it can be any letter, B, C, as long as it's within the letters of the alphabet, meaning A to Z. So we have that. And you can also specify more. You can specify that I want small letters A to Z, also capital letters A to Z, I mean, and small letters A to Z. So you can do it like this. So what this would mean, it would mean that, so this means A to Z. And then if you have something like this, A to Z, and then within the square bracket after Z, you say A to Z. So this would mean what it actually means. It means A to Z, small letters, or A to Z, capital letters. And it means when even though you see the or, it still expects one character, one. It expects one. Don't forget that. Even though it says or this. So it means that you can either put in a small letter of the alphabet or an uppercase letter of the alphabet. That's what it means if you write it in this format. So let's test it out on our playground. So it's A. Let's use capital letter A. You see it matched. If I use a small letter, let's say J, you see it matched. They say I put in a number, no matches, because that's not the formula. The formula states that I expect letters from A to Z, which are in uppercase, and small letters from A to Z. So it won't match if if it's not that thing that it expects it to be. It expected letters. And what if you want digits? If you want digits, simple. Remember to specify a range, you put in the square brackets. So you're gonna put square brackets again and say, I want a number between 0 and 9. Because that's the digits. Because if you remember the decimal system, or DEC in short, DEC means 10. So why 10? Because we have 10 numbers to represent any number, starting from 0 to 9. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. If you count from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, until 9, you see that this is exactly 10 numbers. Therefore, it's from 0 to 9. So if you want to specify that you expect a user to enter a digit, you put in 0 to 9. So if I go back here and I change this and I say, let's say we're now expecting a number 0 to 9. So let's say I enter 5, you see it matched. I enter 6 or 4, it matched. As long as it's within this range. Let's say I enter a character, let's say X. It didn't match because my formula states that I expect a digit. So that's how you represent a digit. So this means 0 to 9, basically a digit. It's going to be one digit, even though the way you write it, it's in a range form. The range just means I expect one thing within this range. And you see the square brackets, it means it's inclusive. So it includes both ends. So 0 through 9, it means including 0 and including 9. Just keep that in mind. If you remember in maths, round brackets, square brackets, if you remember all that in maths, that's very important to remember in this practical. So we know how to represent, what is this? Letters and digits. What about uh, characters, right? Let's say characters. What about characters? To represent characters, you just specify the character. So let's say you expect, let me make an example. Let's say you expect a number like 2.5, right? You can say that you expect a digit, which can be within the range 0 to 9, followed by a dot, followed by another digit from 0 to 9. This would be the formula, right? The dot, you see, is just a dot. If you want to, right, remember what I said, it's allowed to put it inside square brackets, but we usually don't put something that's singular or that's alone inside square brackets. But if you feel like that's how you want to do your things, that's fine. It's your choice. So let me show you that either way it's gonna work. So dot and then 0 to 9 and then dot 0 to 9. So now let me say 2.5. You see it matched. And how do you know it matched everything? You see it selected everything starting from 2 up until 5. If it doesn't match, you're gonna see that there's a change. So let me say 2.54 or 5.5. It's not gonna match because this is the formula. Remember what I said about this range? It means exactly one digit. You'd have to write the formula and say, I expect 2 digits on the left-hand side, or I expect two digits before the dot, and I expect 2 digits after the dot. You'd have to do it in that way. You'd have to update your formula. And let me go back to the square brackets that I was talking about. You see, it still works, even if you put it within square brackets or you don't. But then if it's something singular, we typically don't put it inside square brackets. We only put in square brackets when there's a range that you're specifying. So you see there's 2.5. Straightforward, right? So that's 2.5, and then that's how you represent characters and digits, right? So you can specify anything within the square brackets, even if it's like you expect a star or an asterisk or you expect a dollar sign, you can do that. Let's say the user is supposed to enter the money, right? So the user must enter money, and it can be a single digit, and it can be a dot and another single digit. So, okay, we are in South Africa, so I'll use R for rands. So this one, its formula is simple. You just say you expect an R. Like I said, you can put it alone or put it inside square brackets. After the R, you see that after the R, there's no space, right? Don't put space in a regular expression. specifying, we're going to get to spaces, then followed by a single digit. In that digit, you just say 0 to 9, like this, followed by a dot, followed by another digit 0 to 9. This will be the formula. So let me copy that and quickly go back here to test. There's the formula. You see that it stopped matching because my formula has been updated. And then the dot, let me just also put it inside square brackets. That's fine. But I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't put singular things inside square brackets. So let's make an example. Okay, this is fine. The only thing that's not matching is what? Is the R, because we told it to add R. So what I can do is I can just add R to my input here or to my example to see if it matches with the formula. So let me put R. You see, boom, it matched immediately after I put R. But if I put 22.5 like this, it's wrong because I said that before the dot there's exactly one digit, but then here there's two digits, so it stops matching entirely. So you need to be very, very careful. This is the subject that I feel like now you understand why this website is called I Hate Regex. Regex, reg for regular, X for expressions. So basically in full, it's I hate regular expressions. That's what the website is called. So yeah, someone clearly did that on purpose because you're bound to hate it first. But then you realize that after a while, this thing is quite useful. It's a very useful technique. You just need to practice a lot and go through your lecture slides and master and make examples. Go to this playground here, test it out on this playground. So now we understand how to enter digits and what is OR. You see, this is OR. You can check that. There it is, and then there's that. And then yeah, let's continue. I'm not gonna explain everything that's inside regular expression. I'm not gonna do that. I think it's better if I explain the basics, then I solve the practical, so that you see so that you get a bit of an understanding and you see how to solve the practical, how to apply it to problems. So let's explain a bit further. I'm sure you've seen that it's a bad thing to always have to write 0 to 9. If I want two digits, that means I have to repeat it again and say 0 to 9 like this. It's really annoying. What if it's the three digits? That means I have to say 0 to 9 again and then dot. You see that it becomes annoying. So there's shortcuts to this. So if you write slash D or backslash D, it means just 0 to 9. It means a digit. So everywhere, basically it's like a placeholder. It's everywhere where there's this, you can replace it with this. And then you can also there's a backslash W, which just means a word character. And this word character is basically it includes a lot of stuff. It includes letters A through Z, letters capital letters A through Z. It also includes an underscore. It also includes a digit. So it can be any of these things. It can be small letters A to Z or capital letters A to Z or an underscore or a digit 0 through 9. So that's what the backslash W represents. And then we have the backslash S, which represents all white space characters, right? White space characters. By white space characters, it means things like your tab, your backslash N, your space. So for example, if your input is gonna have things like an empty space like this is a this is a white space character, right? So it represents all of those things, and more, etc. So this is this is how you're going to do it. There's many ways you can do it. This is the another way to do it. You can use backslash D, backslash W, backslash S for white space. The white space is important. Why? Because our input can be something like this. We're expecting a user to enter a small letter, let's say the initials, right? Followed by a space, followed by let's say the initials is in uppercase. So let me make it uppercase. Uppercase letters, followed by this space over here, and then uppercase letters again. Put a closing. Then let's say it's VT. You see that it matched, right? Because it's an initial thing, right? But this space over here, right? You can do it, you can write it in this, so you can say a backslash S like this. Remember, we talked about it, it's white space includes that space too. Even if it's a tab, that backslash S represents all of them. So even if I come here and I press tab, where is it? Okay. Remember, tab is it can be 4 spaces or 8 spaces. Yeah, is it 4? It can be 4 or 5. It depends on your IDE. So let's say 4 spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, it has to be a tab, but I have to press it. Yeah, I would have to press the tab. The thing is, I don't know why it's not. Yeah, it doesn't want me to press the tab here. And oh, I forgot to mention, there's this bottom part which explains what your regular expression means. So you see that that first A to Z here, over here, it means that it's one of anything that's any uppercase letter from A to Z, followed by a white space, whether that's a tab or a new line, and then followed by one of these within this range, capital letter A to capital letter Z. So once you've written your regular expression, there's a sort of like a diagram to represent it here. So let's test this out. Let me do this. Yeah. So you see that is still matched. You see what I talked about, the white space. Remember backslash N to activate it, you need to press enter on your keyboard. But you see it did match because starting from this line going to the next line, you use the backslash N, which counts as a white space. So that's why it's matching. Or you can use just one space, which is still a white space. If you choose more than one space, it's not going to match because the backslash S means exactly one. So there's these things, there are things called quantifiers, right? To quantify, meaning you want more than than one thing of that thing that you've written in the regular expression. So for example, this means exactly one letter. If you put two like this, and then you put a space, and then you see that it skips that thing. It finds only the one that matches because this means exactly one. This means exactly one, or one of that, which just it means one thing. So you can quantify and say, no, I mean multiple, right? You can specify all of those things. So you see, that's why I said we definitely, it seems like we're not gonna do pretty much here because there's quite a lot to explore in regular expressions. Regular expression can be its own module. That's how deep it is. Regular expressions can be its own separate module. So to specify quantity, right? How do you specify quantity? So you can use a question mark right next to that thing that you want to quantify. This just means exactly one, right? That's what it means. It means exactly one, which is just by default. That's what it is, right? Because by default it has been one. So you can, this is optional, the question mark. You can decide not to put it. Then we have plus, which just means one. Or we have plus, which just means one or more, right? Basically one to infinite. Because one or more, what is more? More is infinite. So when you use a plus, that means it's one to infinite. And then, okay, let me do this. So it's a bit better. And then if you use an asterisk, right, it means 0 or 1, right? Meaning can be 0 or 1. That's what this means, right? So it's, in other words, it's basically um, less than or equals to 1. You can view it in that way. Less than or equals to 1, but not negative though, but it's not negative, but you can view it in that way. So let me do this. It's like less than or equals to 1. So it can be 0 or 1 or none, right? Or which is 0, which is 0. And yeah, so it's 0. Basically, I think it's, in other words, it's phrased as 1 or none. Or you can say 0 or 1. So this is when you use the asterisks. So these are the different quantifiers that you can use. And then there's another one whereby you can specify the range, like the specific range, like a starting point and an ending point. So you can also use curly braces like this, whereby you put in the start and then the end, right? And then you can also just only put in a start like this, or only put in one value, which just means exactly which just means exactly this number, right? If you only put one number inside the curly braces, it means exactly this number. So if you say, let's say for example, you say you want letters from A to Z, but it's uppercase letters, right? Then you put curly braces next to it so that you quantify it, to give it a quantity. To quantify, right, it means to give it a quantity, meaning you want two, you want three, you want four of those things. Because like I said, this becomes annoying. Let's say you want 10,000. Are you telling me that you're gonna write this 10,000 times? No, you can't. So that's why we have quantifiers, whereby you just put in there and then you say you want exactly 1,000 letters of the alphabet, and it should only be uppercase letters. So you can do that, or you can specify that you want let's say the minimum, right? Okay, it's, let me put it this way. This is the minimum, and then this is the maximum. And then you can also do it another way. I forgot to mention this other way. You only put in one value and then you put comma, and then the second value you leave it empty, which just means this is from value to infinity, right? Which is from this value to infinity, because you didn't specify the maximum. You see, there's nothing there. You only put in the minimum. So that you only put in the minimum. So it's minimum to infinity, starting at that minimum that you've specified. So these are the different ways you can use the quantifiers. So let's say you want a 4-digit number. You can say 0 to 9. But then remember, I told you that this can just be abbreviated as just \d, right? Meaning a digit. And then you want exactly 4 digits, and then you put curly braces and put 4. You want exactly. So I'm gonna use the formula to specify exactly, which is just curly braces and one number. Don't put the underscore, because if you put the underscore, the comma, I mean, if you put the comma, it means 4 to infinity. It means that the minimum is 4. The maximum, it has no maximum, it's infinite, which is incorrect because I only want exactly 4 digits. So that's really important to understand. If you want let's say 4 to 8, this would mean that the minimum number of digits is 4 and the maximum is 8. So if we have lower than 4, it won't match. But if we have more than 8, it also won't match. So it has to be a part of this range. This also means inclusive. It includes both ends. Uh, Shit. So let me do that here. So \d, I want a digit, right? So let me make the example. Let me show you that I'm not lying. This works. So I want a digit that's exactly I want exactly 4 digits, meaning any number between four single digits that are combined together to form one number. Because if why are they choosing this technique? Because they're choosing this technique because 1,000 is basically adding that one digit zero followed by, or that digit one, and then followed by the digit zero, followed by the digit zero, followed by the digit zero, giving you in this format. Remember, in this example, this addition, it doesn't mean the addition, that's not what I mean. I mean they're added after another. So add zero. So basically, this is what I mean. To get 1,000, you take the value one, followed by a zero, followed by another zero, followed by another zero, making 1,000, right? So that's regular expression. So let me show you. So you see, if I put one is less than 4. so it won't match. So far you have one digit. Now it's a two-digit number. Now it's a three-digit number. Still doesn't match. But the moment it becomes four, it matches because I've stated that I want exactly four digits. But the moment you put more than that, it stops matching. And what's going to do is going to skip this and only match the part that it match it match the only part that it matched. So that's why it's also very important to understand your regular expressions properly before you even start coding. But if I said 4 comma, that would mean 4 to infinity. You see, everything matches. It's to infinity. And you know infinity, how it is. It's infinite. It's never ending. So that's regular expressions, guys. And then if you want to say you want one or more, basically 1 to infinity, you say plus. This would mean to infinity. It's to infinity, but it's a minimum. Minimum is one digit. So if I leave it like this, you see, it matched one digit because minimum is one. Up to infinity, it'll always match as long as it's infinite. As long as it goes to infinity. But then if you also don't put in the thing that it expected, which is a number, they say D, it doesn't match. Or E, it doesn't match because it doesn't view that as a number. That's how regular expressions work. So that's what you guys are going to use in your practical. Like I said, there's a lot to explain in this practical. There's a lot. The regular expressions on their own, it's like a whole module on its own. You need to really understand. So let's say you want to represent, let's say a number like 123,578, something like this. You can see that this is exactly three digits. So that means I would say three digits exactly. You see, it matched that three digits part. But then since my formula is like that, it thinks this is the whole formula. So I'd have to type in more in order for me to finish my formula, followed by a dot. And if you notice something, the moment I add something new, it starts selecting it, you see? Just pay attention here at the bottom. So if I add a dot here, you see it selects it. And then I say you're expecting another dash and expecting another digit, you see it selects it. But remember this backslash D on its own, it means exactly one number, right? So I'd have to specify a quantity and say I want exactly two numbers. And then boom, it has matched a double or a float. Something that would call a float or a double inside Java. So this would be the formula to match this specific example. But if you do not know how many numbers are before the dot and after the dot, you just say plus, meaning 1 to infinity. There should be at least one number. So you see, it's still matched. But then there's a difference because if I increase the numbers like this on both sides, it's still matched. Because this 1 to infinity means that one or more digit, one or more digit. So it will always match. So since we have the understanding of regular expressions, and another thing, one last thing before I come up with regular expressions, I should see that we're not gonna have time. That's the thing. So I think it's a must for us to go through the practical tomorrow. Continue. We'll see if we're able to start. So there's the regular expression, right? Let's say you want to match something like this. Let me show you how important precision or accuracy is when it comes to coding. So let's say I love cooking, right? Something like this, right? Let's say I want to match exactly this sentence here. I want you to notice something here. You see this cursor, right? This long line, that's black long line, this black line. You see that it keeps on blinking, right? That's what we call the cursor. And you see that there's exactly no space after G. If I put this space after G, or that space over there, the regular expression stops matching. So there's things like that. So you need to be very, very careful. So how do I make it in such a way? How do I write the regular expression in such a way that the regular expression states that if there's a space after this G or after my thingy, it shouldn't match it at all. So it should be strict. You should have no spaces on the after the word or before. How do I do that? So to do that, you start by putting the cap and the dollar sign like this. And then anything and then you specify your regular expression in between. Now the regular expression, it means exactly this, meaning no space before and no space after. So now in if you look at the words here, right, there's one or more words and a space. You see, and spaces. There's no limit to how many spaces are there. So I'm gonna phrase it this way. It's letters from A to Z, right? Small letters, or maybe the sentence also has uppercase letters because it's a sentence. And then I'm gonna put in a plus there, right? To say it's one or more letters. But then if I only put it in like this, and I don't mention the space because there's a lot of things that are involved. There's letters of the alphabet. There's also a space. So I need to come here inside my square brackets and put in a space like this. And then magic. You see that it matched because my formula states that it's A through Z or capital letters through Z or a space. It can be one of those. And one of those can be one or more of those things. So this space can be one or more spaces. So for example, if I do this, you see, because this plus means 1 to infinity, remember. So if there's a space, it can be one or more spaces. If it can be an uppercase letter, it can be one or more uppercase letters. And then let me put that back, and then let me remove the spaces. So let me show you what I was talking about the putting spaces on the end and putting spacing at the beginning. So if I put space like this, right? Okay, this is not the right example. So let me make another example. This one includes the space, so it's gonna always select it. So let me say it's like this. You have a digit, exactly 2 digits, right? Followed by a dot, and then followed by exactly 2 digits again. And then let's do that. So let's say 2.5, right? Mm, oh yeah, it's exactly 2. So 23,50. So there's 23,50, there's 2 digits before the dot, 2 digits after the dot. So it matched exactly. So it matched exactly because look at the cursor, right? This black line, it's blinking immediately after 0. If you put space like this, you see, it stopped matching entirely, it's gone. So you need to be very, very, very precise. And then if I remove that space in front, it matches again. At the back, I mean, after in front of 0, the space in front of 0. No, after 0, I mean. And then if you put the space in front of 2, like this, you see it stopped matching entirely. Because of how I phrased my regular expression, I put in the dollar sign and this cap, I forgot this character, right? So it means exactly this. You see this formula? It's exactly this. But in exactly that formula, if I had stated that it also has there's also a there's also let's say if I stated this, there's also a white space character. If I stated that, you see that it will continue to match, or it'll only match if I put in that white space character at the end. So usually you don't want that because when you try to cast right to a number, there's gonna be issues if you doing the wrong things. If the number is the string of that which represents the number, if it's not in the right format, it's not gonna match. So I'm gonna cancel that, and then we're gonna have this. Right, I'm left with the digit again. So this dollar sign and that cap, when you combine it's matching it strictly, right? If you remove it like this, it's a bit lenient because you see I can put the spaces and it will still match. It's a bit lenient, right? But if I put back the dollar sign at the end, after I've done the regular expression, I put a dollar sign at the end. I also put in that cap at the beginning. It becomes very strict. It stops matching because when you combine those two things, it means exactly that regular expression. So when you combine this followed by a dollar sign, it just means exactly that regex, right? Regex just stands for regular expression in short. So it means exactly that regular expression, excluding white space in front or back, right? So it excludes that white space. But if you leave it and you don't put it, it can match even though there's white spaces at the end or in front. So yeah, that's pretty much regular expressions. So now let's see, how do we represent that in code? So it's another word for regular expression, right? This regular expression, we call it a pattern. So that's another word for it. It's a pattern. So we're trying to match our string with a specific pattern. That's why they gave you this information over here, so that you know the pattern, right? So what I'm going to do is, and they told you that its data is separated by with tabs. Another way to represent a tab with the with the with regular expressions, right? Remember we said the white space character represents white space characters, but then it doesn't actually represent the tab. This wasn't a good example because tab is actually what is actually what, for spaces or so or more, right? Four spaces or more, depending. Let's not say four. Let's say two or more. A tab can be something that has two spaces or more. What is space? This thing over here within the string, which is this empty space. So two or more, it means at least two, and then there's one, that's two or more. So it can be to infinity. So that's where the plus comes in, because this is two or more. So it's to infinity, but you can just use the plus symbol. Why? The plus symbol is important because it can also be just one space, so one or more. So that's why the plus would be more applicable in this case. So let's do that. So let's actually start by coming up with the regular expression to solve the practical. I have so much experience in this thing. It doesn't take me time to solve it. For you guys, you're still beginners. It's gonna take a bit of time to grasp it, right? So you need to come up with the regular expression for each class, right? We have what we call a pyrotechnician. We also have what we call a firework display. And then they give you examples here, right? So what you need to understand, this is really, really annoying. Yeah, placed within, yeah, it's really, really annoying. So because it's hard to really understand the practical because there's a lot involved. But then let's see. So let's start with the firework display. Let's come up with the pattern or the regular expression for the firework display. It has an FDID, and then one or more spaces, meaning a tab, and then FD name. And you can see that the FD name is inside square brackets, followed by space. And then you can see this name, it's inside double quotes, but we'll see if it's literally inside double quotes or they were just showing us that it's a string. But I think it should be inside double quotes, including the double quotes. So let's see. So let's start with FDID. So this is the formula over here, right? This will be one line, right? So I need to find out what FDID is first, followed by a white space character, followed by what is the next thing. Let's start with FDID. So what is FDID? Let's scroll down to find out more. So they say this is the unique identifier of firework display, which is e.g. this. Let's see if they talked about it here. Okay, since it's an easy practical, they gave you the answer, so you don't have to think about it too much. So they say that the firework display IDs, they start with FD, and it's exactly those two characters. So I don't have to think too much about the regular expression here because it's exactly those two characters. So I'm going to delete this and say FD, right? It starts with exactly FD. And remember what I talked about. If you put it inside square brackets like this, it means one of these, which would be incorrect. So I'll leave it like this because I want exactly these two or these two things, not one of them. I want two of them, followed by 4 additional digits. And you see that they give you an exact number. So it means that it's exactly 4 digits. So I need to use that formula there's okay, this part it's up to you in whatever way you want to write it. You can say 0 to 9 like this, or you can use the shortcut and say \d like this. That's up to you, right? Remember, that's why you guys can get a copy on your practical, because there's no way everyone thinks the same. I might decide to write it this way, someone might decide to write it in another way. So make sure you write it in whatever feels right to you. So we have 4 additional digits, and it's exactly 4. Remember, to write exactly 4, you put in curly braces and you pass in one number. That it means exactly that number. And then we have that's sorted. And then this is example, right? So to find test data, right, go to the files. You see the files that they gave you. So I'm gonna close this. You see data folder. I'm gonna choose the clean file and minimize. So this is the text that I want to. So I'm gonna copy this line. Let me not change that. If you change it there, you're gonna be in trouble. So that's why you need to know how to undo. So the input here, right? The input here will be this, because that's what I'm trying to match. But then remember, there's a tab here somewhere here. There's tabs there. There's also a tab here. And then remember what I said a tab is. It's one or more white space characters. So after this, it follows a tab, right? It expects a tab. Let me see if I can write this. Yeah, you can't. Yeah, you can't write \t, because remember \t represents, it means tab. You can't write that in regular expressions. You have to write it as a white space character like this. So I'm gonna go back here and go back to the file. You see, they told you the file format. But like I said, you have the file, you can just read it for yourself. So, but then it's fine. You need to go back and forth because you need to know which pattern is for which class. So this pattern that I'm writing is for the firework display. And they told you that the data is separated by tabs, which is one or more white space characters. You see how I'm phrasing my sentence. A tab is one or more white space characters. What notation do we use to represent one or more? It's plus. So that means I'm going to put \s, right? And then I put plus like that. And you see it matched because a tab is just one or more white space characters. And then it's followed by this, the square bracket, right? It's followed by the square bracket. So I'm going to put the square bracket here, but then there's an error. Why does it have an error now when I put in one square bracket? Because the one square bracket is used to, remember, it has another function. It has another purpose, right? So by purpose is, what example can I make? It's like, for example, use a spoon, right? You are gonna use a spoon to pour something, right? They say to take sugar and pour in a cup. You can use a teaspoon or a tablespoon, but then if you can change its purpose or its function, right? By using it in a different way. For example, you can use, or let's say a fork. You can use a fork. Okay. You can use a fork, right? You can use a fork to cook uputu, right? You can use a fork to cook uputu, but fork is used to eat things like noodles, right? Or pasta or things like that, right? But you can use it to cook, which is a different function. So when you use something in programming, right? When you use something that was intended or its intention was to be used for that specific thing, and you're trying to use it for something else, we call that you're escaping, right? We call that an escape. Um, it's called that an escape, meaning you're escaping the thing that you're supposed to do something else. So to do that, you'd have to put the backslash like this. So you've escaped it, meaning I don't want you, I don't want regular expression to think that I want to use it to specify a range. So ignore or use it for a different purpose. I literally want I literally want the square bracket itself. I don't want to use it for its intended purpose. So I want to escape it. So that's why I put a backslash there to escape it. Just like S, right? Backslash S. If you leave it as S, the computer is gonna think you literally mean the letter S. So that's why you escape it like this to say, no, escape that and use this combination for something else. So that's very important to understand. And then ode to joy is something that we've done. We made an example of that, of a sentence, right? This is just a combination of, you see the, excuse me, you see that there's uppercase letters here and then there's also smaller case letters. So that means I'm going to say A to Z like this and then close there. Oh no, what am I saying? Remember this is escaped. So this is not part of it. So I'm going to put in like this. Or you can also use round brackets if you feel like you're getting confused to specify that this thing belongs to one set, right? Or to one thing, right? So I can put in round brackets here so that I don't confuse myself, so that I know this is it goes on its own, this thing, so that I don't confuse myself. You can do that. And then here, but then it seems like when you try to do that, let me see. Oh, okay, it's fine. I was about to assume something. So can I say A to Z, right? And then or smaller letters A to Z, uh, smaller letters A to Z. As you can see, there's also small letters here. There's a E, small letter D, and there's also a space. You see, there's spaces there. And I don't know how many spaces are there, so it can be one or more. So I'm gonna put a plus to say one or more. And you see that it's starting to match the pattern, right? And then followed by a closing square bracket, right? This. So this closing square brackets, it's surprisingly easy to put because you can put it alone like that. But if it didn't allow you to put it alone, remember you have to escape it. So there's two ways you can write the closing square bracket. You can escape it or put it on its own like this. But I like to escape it so that you can clearly see that, oh, it was intended for another purpose and I'm using it for something totally different. So we've matched this first part and also followed by another tab, because if you look at the practical, they say the file is in this format. This is a tab, the space here represents a tab, this represents a tab. So I've stopped here, right, at the closing square bracket. Now I need to include that space here. So that's backslash S. So I'm gonna go back here, backslash S, one or more of those. And then you see it starts matching again. And then followed by square, what is this, double quotes, opening double quotes. So like that, opening double quotes. So opening double quotes in regular expressions don't already have meaning, right? So you don't have to escape them, but you can just put them there, that escape, so that it's like it kind of makes sense, right? And then followed by the exact same pattern, right? Remember, this is still another sentence. So it's the exact same pattern, which is this one over here. So that's why I like to put round brackets to not confuse myself. So all of this is part of one, it's on its own. This is on its own. The round brackets is like to simplify things for yourself. It's not meant for you to, it's not meant, you can use it for other purposes, but it's for now, just know that it's meant to simplify. And then I can just do that, right? My regular expression still matches, everything is fine. And then I put this inside of its own thingy. And then this one inside its own thingy. I can do my regular expression like this. I think now it's a bit neater. Right? It's neat. I know FD is on its own. starting from backslash up until this is its own thingy. This is its own thingy. And then starting from this, it's its own thingy. Starting from there up until the plus, that's its own thingy. So you see, it becomes easier for you to read it, right? And then after including this, I need to copy this again. So I'll just copy this. You shouldn't do this, don't copy and paste, but I'll just copy that to match because it's repeating the exact same thing. It's exact same pattern. And then it stops there. You need to include the double quotes. So I'm gonna put round brackets here and then escape and then double quotes. You don't have to escape the double quotes. It's fine. We can leave them as they are. Let me show you. Okay. So now you see it meshed the whole line. So now I know my formula is correct because I took an example from my practical to see that if it's going to match. So I can remove the backslash only on quotes, right? Because quotes, the double quotes, they don't already have a meaning inside regular expressions. So you can use them as they are. So you see, therefore it still works fine. So this would be the regular or the formula or the regular expression for, okay, my approach, my way for, what is this? For the firework display, right? You see, the first line is the firework display data. So to match, I would expect it to find, I would have to come up with a pattern, which is the regular expression, and I came up with that pattern. That's done. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my file here, and then I'm going to save and say, call it firework display um, regex, right? And then I paste it here. Because remember, I'm gonna click copy here to copy it, and then it's copied, and then go back here, paste it. So that's the whole regular expression. I'm gonna paste it inside of my code. For now, I'm just gonna leave it like that. So in full, let me zoom out. So in full, that's the whole regular expression, starting from there up until there. So remember what I said about if you want it to be strict and not include spaces before the line starts or after the line ends, you can put in the dollar sign at the end like this. Once you're done with the regular expression though, and then put in that cap there. So this one is not working because why? If you check here, there's that extra space that's there. So I need to delete that so that it becomes strictly this. So no spaces after, no spaces before. So there's a function in Java that deletes those spaces. It's called trim. So you can trim the edges. Those people are geniuses out there. Whoever came up with that function's name, because you see, this is the edge, right? For example, for gents out there, when you get a haircut, I get it, they trim your edges. Or girls will be like, I want to do my edges. So you see, there's the edge, there's the edge. So you call the function called trim. It's inside the string class. So for any string that you create, you can call the trim function, which trims by removing spaces there, spaces, white space characters there before the string itself and after the string itself. So we'd have to get that line and then trim both ends. So I think I should end the session here. Then we're gonna continue tomorrow and come up with the other regular expression. To be honest, the coding part is a bit is a little less hard is a little less hard compared to the regular expression. So once we have done with the regular expressions, then the coding part is a bit easier. We can understand that a bit better. We can become easier to code and stuff because we will have our regular expressions. So if your regular expressions are incorrect, right, you're going to have issues with your code. It won't run because it's not going to match with anything because your pattern or your formula is incorrect. So that's why you need to be very careful. So I think we just stop here for now. I'll see how you guys how you guys feel, but tomorrow there's a practice session, so I would expect you guys to attend even if it's in the morning, like at 8 a.m. somewhere there. Even though you'd be like, yeah, I have class, but yeah, would you rather fail the practical? So yeah, sometimes you gotta make sacrifices. So I'll ask and I'll tell you guys in the group chat and let you know that we have a session tomorrow morning because there's a lot to cover here. There's just a lot to cover. So I had to explain the regular expressions first, then we start coding. So at least we did one regular expression. So that's it, guys. That's it for today. I'll see you tomorrow.